Hello and welcome to the Par 3, the Arnold Palmer Invitational edition here on the lines.com. Matt Brown, Stephen Andress. As always, guys, we're going to give you our three best, hence the Par 3, three best bets here as we lead into the tournament. If you do want our full card, head over to the Discord and we will give you the full card over there. Not only for me and Stephen, but everybody else on the team that is going in, putting in some stuff here. Just real quick reminder for this one. It is an elevated event. So for your one and dones out there, remember this might be a time that you want to spend one of the big names. It is a $20 million prize pool. Only 69 golfers in the field, Stephen, 50 in ties and anyone within 10. So we could have a situation where literally everybody makes the cut. But even if we do have a cut, it is likely only going to be 10 or 12 people. So keep that in mind as well as you make your bets this week.
Keep it in mind for DFS as well, right? Like this is a week where you're less likely to have a bunch of entries that have lost a couple of guys, right? Like, so you're going to want to probably chase ceilings more in DFS this week.
All right, you're on the box, buddy. Let's do this.
Rory McIlroy, and it's not often that I go near the top of the board, Matt, but this week I decided to because driving distance is such a big weapon at Bay Hill. So I was kind of deciding if I want to go with Rory or Scotty because Scotty has been, one of the most prolific ball strikers we've seen since Tiger Woods. He just can't putt. But Rory to me is just number one with a bullet when it comes to the driver right now on PGA Tour. If you look at total driving, the stat on PGAtour.com that takes into account both distance and accuracy, he's the only one in the top 15 of both. And he's number one by a lot with distance. So the fact that he's this accurate with this amount of distance, typically with all these other guys that have the distance, you're sacrificing a decent amount of accuracy. You're not with Rory. And Scotty, meanwhile, like, listen, I don't want to exaggerate this, but for what it's worth right now, he's not in the top 100 in total driving. So if you also look at the model, there is at least one hole you can punch in with Scotty where he's struggled a little bit on par threes that are more than 200 yards, and there's a few of those on this course. So getting a little bit better odds with Rory. I think that the long iron play will help him here as well, as opposed to some other courses where we've seen him struggle with shorter irons and wedges in his hand. And there are some odds boosts out there where if you want to, you can get Rory up to like 11-1 this week if you want to.
Yeah, top of my models, both of those guys. I lean a little bit more towards Scheffler, but I can see getting to Rory for sure. Either one of those guys to me this week in a 69-person field in a course that's going to play as difficult as this one is likely to play. My bets start a little bit further down the board as well. But listen, Scotty and Rory are basically starting ahead of the field here. I mean, like what they do with everything from not only driving the ball, but with long irons, the apex of their balls that they hit, which again, these are hard, fast greens. Yeah. And so like you have to look at dudes that hit the ball high too, because again, it doesn't matter how far you hit it and even how accurate you hit it here at a course like Bay Hill, Stephen, because if you can't hit it high enough to make it land a little bit softer, it doesn't matter how accurate you are because it's going to hit this green. It's just going to roll right off it.
Yeah, and we might have a little bit of wind in the forecast this weekend as well. At least it's going to pick up a little bit over the weekend. And if that's the case, when you're already talking about a course that helps guys who hit it far, if it's windy too, well, now I really want the guys that hit it far because that's going to just exponentially hurt the guys who are a little bit shorter off the tee.
I'm with you. The number one bet for me here this week, and I did just tick just slightly down the board, and I went to Viktor Hovland. As I mentioned, it's Scotty, it's Rory in pretty much every single model. But after that, you're seeing Viktor Hovland and another fellow that I'm not going to spoil that you're going to be talking about here in just a second that is at the top for me with everything that I plugged in. And again, these are stuff that I'm looking for. I've gotten real into the weeds in these models now, Stephen, right? Like I'm putting in carry distance on drives. I'm putting in apex height on drives and with irons. I'm putting in different stuff like that you can really get nuanced with especially on a course like this where, hey, look, it's 69 of the best players in the world, right? Like what is going to separate player A from player B to player C? Because these guys are all awesome. It's like you said, we need that little bit of extra distance. We need that little bit of extra height. We need that little bit of extra chance that ball is going to stay on the green and not trickle off to where they have to, chip as opposed to putt. So there's all those different things that came into play this week. If you look at Viktor Hovland, in the model that I put in, let's just go to the last 24 rounds if, just to get there. But, off the tee, which we said is so important, he's 11th in this field. Carry distance, he's 7th in this field. Bogey avoidance, he's 3rd in this field, because if we're going to have a low scoring affair, which you and I both think that's probably going to be, I'm thinking 10 under might win this thing, especially if we have conditions. You don't want guys that are going out there giving up strokes. Par is a good score. Take your par, move on. 3rd in this field in bogey avoidance as well. Those approaches that we talked about that are so important, he's 12th in the field as well over the last 24 rounds. So really do like me some Viktor Hovland here in this one. And a sneaky good driver of the ball that someone, for someone that doesn't really get mentioned in the same breath as a Rory and a Scotty and Rahm and all that, like Victor's really gotten good at driving the ball. A sneaky good driver of the ball as well, like Hovland this week.
Yeah, don't mind Hovland. He's getting to a price where I really did consider him. He's starting to dip a little bit with some more other guys around him getting some action. And I think it's because he's off to a bit of a slow start this year. He hasn't played much on top of it. So I think it's probably scaring some people away. So, but good on you for staying on him, because I agree. Like, I still think he's one of the prime candidates to get a major this year for sure. So if he wins this week, I'm going to be upset that I wasn't on him. That's for sure, because I've had my eye on him ever since the end of last year. Number 2 for me, and you're gracious for letting me steal your favorite golfer in the world, it is Sam Burns, your boy from Louisiana, who I did happen to cover in his 1 year on the Korn Ferry Tour. Love this guy, multiple time winner, already won 4 times. And what's interesting to me, Matt, is that his driving numbers are really getting impressive. Like, we already knew him as a good putter overall. Like, if you look at his strokes gained putting on all the events, it's hard to find red. He's a consistent putter. So love that as like a tiebreaker against these other guys that are in his tier. But if you go to his data golf profile, last 3 events, above field average in accuracy driving the ball, and last like 7 or 8 events, at least 10% better with his distance. So he's already got the distance, and now he's adding accuracy, kind of like Cameron Young, who is first off my card this week. But Cam Young hasn't won an event yet. He's an inconsistent putter. So tie goes to Sam Burns in that case. And over the last 24 rounds, he didn't get as high as, top 2 as he did in your models for me. But last 24 rounds, number 4. And most notably for me, above Ludwig Aubert, who's gotten all the love in golf betting Twitter this week. Yeah. So love Sam Burns being, not only the driving distance, but number 1 in bogey avoidance in this field in the last 24 rounds.
Yeah, you take a look. Sam also on my card this week. No surprise to people out there, but honestly, this isn't just because I like to watch him play golf. This is a full-on model play for me to go along with what we've seen with our eyes. As you mentioned, he's just gotten better here of late. And so if you go, and you said total driving to you was incredibly important this week. So how about we go to last 36 rounds where he is 7th overall in this field in total driving, and then let's shorten that up to the last 16 rounds. So just the last 4 tournaments that he's played, he's 5th overall in this field in total driving, which is something that, again, we found very, very important. Those approaches from 200 plus, 8th overall in this field. Like, Sam is just lighting it up across the board when it comes to all the stats that we find important for a tournament like this. And as you mentioned, not only number 1 in bogey avoidance, but if for whatever reason, as good as he's been with those long irons, if it doesn't hold, Steven, he's also number 1 in this field in scrambling over the last 24 rounds as well. So he's figured out how to make pars even when he's not getting on the green in regulation. In a tournament like this, I think that has a lot going for it. Really do love me some Sam Burns this week as well. Glad you're on him. I am also on him. Let's take a long shot here. This is a guy that we've seen have some recent success. Matthew Pavon, a French golfer. If you take a look at his recent stuff here, Steven, it's a guy that you just go, wait, who is this dude you're even talking about? By the way, not only is this just a guy that's been playing well, 11th overall in my model. The odds do not match what this guy is, where he is showing up in these models. He is inside the upper half of the field in every single category that I put in, outside of the recent total driving, which, again, this is something we do value, but every single other part of the game, he is way up there. 3rd in approach long-term, 3rd in approach short-term, 7th in those approach shots from 200 plus, which we know over a third of all your approach shots come from over 200 yards on this course. Your par 5, despite the fact that he doesn't get it out there far, Steven, he's 10th overall in this field in par 5 birdie or better percentage, which we know you have to score on these par 5s. That's where your scoring comes from. And he's inside the top 10 in this field in that. He's also inside the top 10 in bogey avoidance, which you said we don't want to be giving these shots back to the field. And he's 6th overall in scrambling as well. So it's just a guy that the odds don't match what he has been able to do on the golf course. And so there's your long shot for this week is Matthew Pavone.
Yeah, don't hate it whatsoever. I mean, get me back on a course where iron play matters more than driving distance, and I'll be right back on Pavone. I bet him last week, and he found water towards the end of one of his rounds on the weekend and wound up out of contention. But to that point, he was only a stroke or two out of it for most of that tournament. So love Pavone. Didn't get there with him this week, but would be shocked if I don't bet him a bunch more this season as one of the guys that came over from the DP World Tour to the PGA Tour this season. Last one for me is a guy I've already cashed an outright on this year, the Mexico Open, and it's Jake Knapp. And typically these rookies in a signature event, I'm going to shy away from that. But what really impressed me, we already knew he can hit the cover off the ball, like one of the better drivers in terms of distance
effortlessly
already.
By the way, it doesn't even look like he's friggin' swinging hard.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
it's like the most effortless 320 you're ever going to see on tour.
Really impressive.
Yeah.
Really impressive. And that fit perfectly when he won at the Mexico Open because distance is going to be a huge advantage there. Inaccuracy didn't matter. Even when he did somehow like hit water on one of the holes in the final round, I thought he was going to fall apart last week at the PGA National for the Cognizant because there's just so much water on that course, and he didn't. He finished top 5. So whatever little quirks or maybe nerves he had in the final round of the Mexico Open, he fixed going into the Cognizant, and he was well above field average in driving accuracy on a very difficult course last week. So I was really impressed with that, and considering we're talking about a rookie who is nowhere near his full form and his full potential on a course where driving distance is a huge weapon, give me Jake Knapp again at 75-1. I'm fine with that. Just put it at the bottom of the card where I know he's got the weapon that, in my opinion, matters most for this event. And it's not just the driver either. His iron play has been impeccable. 2.8. 8.7, 2.9, 3.8 strokes gained on approach, working backwards in his last 4 events. 3 of those 4 events, top 5s, including a strong field at the Farmers Insurance Open. So I think it's a great price on Jake Knapp, and I'm not ready to jump off of him yet.
For what it's worth, a guy that really was lighting up my model again this week. I know now listen, guys, to be fair, the models that I run do pull data from Korn Ferry, right? And so like his numbers are going to be inflated because he destroyed Korn Ferry, like last year. And so whenever you're looking at stuff over the last 50 rounds, 36 rounds, stuff like that, he didn't have enough PGA Tour rounds for that to factor in. So you are pulling in some of those Korn Ferry rounds, but still he's still going out there, and it's him with a golf club in his hand, a ball on a tee, and having to get it done, on the course. And so you can't argue with the results. I like Knapp a lot this week as well. Might end up in a placement market deal for me. And I'll go ahead and round things out here with a placement market bet. I know we normally talk outrights, but Steven, we're in a field, as we mentioned, of only 69 golfers where 50 in ties and anyone within 10 makes the cut. So you are very, very likely to get 4 rounds of your golfer trying to make it into, which I was shocked that DraftKings was offering top 30s and top 40s this week in a field of only 69 golfers. How about a top 30 bet that is at plus money on Emiliano Grillo? And if you take a look at what Grillo's been doing here of late, and a guy like him, I will ride the hot streak, right? Like we have seen Grillo, like you and I have watched him fall apart at times. We've watched him be scorching hot at times, and you got to ride the hot times with him, and you got to fade the times in which he's fallen apart. His last 20 rounds, Steven, heading into this tournament, he is 16th in strokes gained total, 18th in this field in tee to green, 3rd in approach, 16th in ball striking, 24th in short game. He is inside the upper half of this field in every one of the main statistical categories over the last 20 rounds of golf. And listen, let's ride the heater with this dude to get into the top 30 at plus money over at DraftKings, Steven. like, I can't believe they're offering 30s and 40s. Like, it's in a 69-person field, but they are, and we're getting plus money on Grillo to get into the top 30 there. He is playing good golf right now, and we have to ride it while he's playing good golf, because at some point this season he's going to play really bad golf, because that's just what happens with Emiliano. But right now we're going to ride that heater and go ahead and get a top 30 bet in on him at plus money. Again, it's at plus money, plus 105.
Just pulled out my phone and made the bet, buddy.
Yeah.
I love it.
Plus
Appreciate
105. It's crazy. That's crazy to be getting that with him. So we'll take that. Again, guys, these are just 3 of our bets. You get our full card over at thelines.com. Upper right-hand corner, you will see that little Discord button. It's absolutely free. Go in, join the community over there. We're not just talking golf. We're talking football, baseball, basketball, hockey. We're talking every single thing that you can talk over there in that Discord. So be a part of that community. And again, absolutely free. Head into the golf bets little subsection there, and you will see every one of the staff bets in there as well. If you haven't done so already, everything we do free. So hit that subscribe button down below. Let us know in the comment section, who are you playing here this week at this, what looks to be a pretty tough challenge for these guys. Course has played a lot tougher over the last few years than it did in previous years. Don't let those minus 17s and minus 18s fool you. This thing's going to be closer to 10, 12 this year. So figure that out, hopefully, along with you here this week. For Steven, I'm Matt. Good luck on all your Arnold Palmer bets.